We just kind of found some tweaking from one unit to the other. It was really just to set a standard. It's really for them to set a baseline, because it's not a standard. It's each unit is different. We recognize that, and I think this just gives them a starting point as they try to allocate resources within their department. The three areas highlighted in yellow where we did see, we think they'd be more investigators. One was diversified crimes. That was used to be an investigator in every division throughout the city. They've centralized that now, and I think they need to figure out how many they need, because those guys have a huge caseload, way more than they can conceivably work timely. The second is exploitation. Again, we think there's a large number of cases there, very few investigators, so we suggest that there be an increase in staff there. And the other one is what's called major crimes. This is the area where there are crime scene investigators, and we suggest that they could be civilianized. So it says -8 there. That's really civilianizing 8 of the people in that department. So as you look at ways, the other things we looked at is areas where we can civilianize, areas we can optimize, areas we can maximize the resources, besides just saying, hey, this model suggests you need 70+ patrol officers. You can skip the next 3 slides, are some of the administrative areas. They're all pretty right-sized. This is the CALEA. It's the right size. You've made a commitment to get CALEA accreditation every year. You have about 3 people handling those responsibilities. They have other duties. They're doing a good job, and that's about what you need to handle that. The next one, please. This is an area where we think they're way overworked. But we think instead of hiring some people, that you change the processes within that. We've talked to the department about it, and I think they understand them, and a lot of them actually. My job's easy. I just look at data and analyze it, and then talk to people, and they really have the best ideas because they're the ones doing it every day. So most of these ideas came from them, and I think they can increase what they do, improve what they do without hiring any more people. The next area I think is, we think this is an area that can be civilianized. There's a lot of folks down there. They may need another person or 2, but they're all sworn officers at this time, with the exception of a couple of administrative people. And we think this is an area that should be civilianized. Again, the idea of civilianization is you don't have the training investment, you don't have the salary, the retirement, and you can do this you can save $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per FTE by using civilian staff. The next one, please. These are, again, some minor people that we think that could be replaced or changed. I think these are 2 positions that could be eliminated. It's debatable. The department doesn't agree with me, but that's my job. We try to find some where they need people and some where they don't, and these are 2 areas where we think they could do with a couple of less FTEs. Next one, please. And this is one more. I think there's an opportunity for civilianization of an existing employee. So the next slide is what we call the special ops. This is a totally different division. We kind of agree with the staffing throughout most of it, except for 2 places. In mounted patrol, we think you're making a significant investment in your downtown area, and you're going to need enhanced police presence down there during events, and the mounted patrol is proven successful in all areas like that, where you have a downtown entertainment district. It facilitates patrol. It provides a level of safety. I live in Austin, and the mounted patrol are down there every weekend, and I know in Dallas it's the same way. So we think you could use 2 more horse patrol there. And then one of the areas we were surprised about was the motorcycles. You have very few relative to the number of highways you have, miles of highways you have in this city. That was our benchmark there. You have an enormous number of highway miles, and you have very, very small number of motorcycle units here. So again, we thought that was an area they could use. One of the benefits of this is I'm going to say they're cost-free, but they certainly come at reduced cost, because the traffic enforcement does bring in substantial traffic revenue. The next page is probably the key page to all of this. This is the summary of it. Again, we're not suggesting you go out and hire 75 patrol officers. This is a model that suggests you need that. This is kind of a summary of all that we've done. The bottom line, you will see towards the bottom, it says 40 civilian, staff. We think 10 of those those are all positions that are now sworn that could be civilianized. So, and then would require additional 50, it says 58.75. Below that, there's the -2 because we did find 2 positions to replace. So that would be 56.75 police officers. And again, it's not something to go out and do right now. There's ways when this would happen and how you implement this over the next 2 or 3 years. And then this is the money associated with that. Any questions here? Do you want me to keep going? I'll keep going.
Keep going.
What are the byproducts? What are you going to get for this? So we go to the next stage. And this is not a byproduct. One of the things we've measured in our report is response time and how the response time in this community really builds during the evening and afternoon hours. And it grows. One of the byproducts you will get out of more patrol officers, like would be a reduced response time. And it would cut, for priority 1, could go from, almost 8 minutes down to 6.5 minutes. So again, something you're getting if you do make this investment. The next slide shows where you will be relative. This is the kind of the before and after slide of the one we saw earlier, where you will be in line with the other peer cities we looked at, and you'll be down to about 600 calls per service per officer, which again is more in line with what we're seeing. These are citizen-initiated calls, not officer-initiated. The next slide is, so we say, okay, you're going to do all these things. Well, while we were doing all this studying, looking, interviewing, there's opportunities to make changes in what you do and how you do it. And that will reduce, we think, the number of calls for service, and therefore would reduce the number of patrol officers needed. This one is, there were false alarms, there were calls to for police services that were just, totally non-police oriented calls. So we call this a triage of dispatch. Through better training, better policies, better procedures, there's a way to verify what kind of response is needed. And this would reduce the demand for the calls for service, which would, again, reduce what we think would be the number of officers needed. So this is an area, again, you all can look at and would save significant money for patrol officers, money, miles, gas, fuel, lots of money. If you look at this, take a hard and fast look at your response and how you can triage calls for service. Again, we talked about, the next slide is how we went through this. We did find opportunities for civilianizing positions that are now covered by sworn officers. The department itself did a study a couple years ago and identified 30. We identified 10 more. So it brings up the number of 40 sworn positions that are currently held by sworn officers that could be civilianized. Again, which would save, we think, on average, $20,000 a position. The next one is just some minor ways to handle, not of real interest, but establish a metric for which cases were going to be investigated and which ones are not. So we think they need to have a case solvability system. It's almost just a software package that says, okay, we're going to look hard at these cases and not at these. Some cases, of course, you're going to look at all of them just by the nature of the crime, homicide, things like that. Let's see, the next slide is special investigations. Again, there's no established criteria for which cases are going to be investigated and which ones were not. And so the next one's we think there can be significant efficiency gains here in the booking section, because this is where the warrants are handled, and by integrating with county and city and the district and county courts, integrating these databases, I think there'll be significant efficiencies gained by all the departments here. So I think this is something the city needs to look at as a way to maximize resources. Again, let's use technology, let's not use paper. So again, there's an opportunity there. I think that's the end of the slides, and so I'll